All right. All right. Corbin and I are here in the studio working. What? And, we're getting some stuff done. But Corbin was just saying something to me that I thought was very interesting, and that was, you're getting too comfortable with things, Dad. And he said it like this. You're getting too comfortable with things. Which doesn't mean I'm losing my mind. And, yeah, so he's not entirely wrong. Sometimes we gotta go back to, just take a couple steps back and realize the things that we do, we fall into patterns, right? And sometimes something that can help us is to get back out of that pattern. And so that's what we're going to do a bit of today. Isn't that right, Corbin? That's right. Okay. So, I've got a little bit of agua. And I got a little bit of ink. Whereas Corbin likes to call it stink. I don't know. And we're going to come at today's page in a little more crazy, haphazard, mixed media kind of way that I like to do things. So, with that in mind, I'm going to show you a couple things. First, let's talk about today's page. All right, today's page is a one-page suggestion from Jeff B. I've lost where I put the suggestion, but it's something like, what would happen if, in a world of superheroes, if all the superheroes got wiped out by, the government rising up against them and taking them all out. So that's what we did. In a bit of a snarky way. There's little sarcasms and cynicisms in me that, I think this kind of thing happens today anyways. So, and the people that we should be celebrating, the people that are actually beneficial for society, we don't. We're far more interested with boneheads like Tom Cruise and Will Smith and people that just have money that don't even do something like acting, like the Hiltons of this world and things like that. And we don't listen to the ones that really count, like the Corbins, right, buddy? That's right. Okay, so with that in mind, that's today's page. And after my little political rant, was that a rant? Corbin says it was a rant, and Corbin's always correct. So, you coming up? Come on up. You're not coming up? He's a complicated guy. Okay, so a couple things. So today I'm going to get all mixed media up in this piece. But there's today's page. I drew it with an orange marker and a blue marker, and then fiddled about digitally. Now, here's the old Kamarowski, and how to tell stories using words and pictures, it says. Okay, so I've got some fun stuff to show you now. One of which is I've got these books like this. And this book, which I'll zoom in on for all of you that like zoomy things. Zoom! And it's just photos of people in New York. It's called Humans of New York. And it's put together by someone. And Brandon Stanton. So, thank you, Brandon Stanton, for taking all these pictures of the peoples. And being peoples in New York. Pardon me. And but there's some interesting stuff. It says an awful lot about humanity and the diversity of people, and some interesting caricatures and personalities and vibes. And so, here's all of that. Look at this crazy character. I think I used this character in a page before as the last superhero of New York or something silly. But look at this shot, just people. all these people moving around, and yet sad that it's broken up by the division of the page. But all these people moving around, and here's this couple doing a cute little couple picture. Look at us in our moment. Somebody take a picture of us. There's people smooching. There's people on the street. Hey, these are some fun ones. Let's use this image. And, you know, yeah, so that's just cool. Fun stuff. And this is a great way to find images to, this kid's like, or whatever sound they make. And, yeah, just it's fun to be able to utilize these sort of different images of people and incorporate them in your work. So we're going to do a bit of that today. Let's have some fun. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do today's story. Where's the book? Corbin, where's the book? We got the book. Thank you, Corbin. And we'll find out what today's suggestion is. We did that one. Oh, I gotta post that. I forgot about a page I did for Marsh that Marsh Lee suggested. Yeah. Okay, so here's a suggestion from, I think it's from Devin Rex for Art, and it's Jelly Egg Baby. That's a crazy one. Maybe we'll do that one soon. Yes, sir. Corbin's just saying hi. And maybe, you know, maybe today's, who knows. I'm just looking through and seeing what we've got left that I haven't finished. Yes, sir? Corbin keeps tapping me. He wants to say something there, buddy. I'll hold you up in a second, buddy. Whew. Yep, Jelly Egg Baby. That's today's suggestion from Devin Rex for Art. Maritza says, waving hand, Maritza. How you doing? How's things? Okay, so Jelly Egg Baby is today's suggestion, and I'll put that in the chat. Jelly Egg. Just a second, sir. Baby. Today's suggestion from Yolanda. Okay, so there we go. All right, so let's do this. I don't know. So I've got this photo book, and I'm just flipping through images. Let's just start with this crying kid. So what I'm gonna do is are you leaving now? That's fine. Oh, he's so needy. Okay, here he is. How you doing, everybody? My name's Corbin, and I'm a cowboy. No, you're not. Get down. That was fun. Okay, so I've got a container full of different colored inks. Okay, and so I've got a brush, and I've got some Wawa, and I got some intention to use these two things together. So let's see if what I got for the colors. What are you doing? You can't fight with that. Leave it alone. Corbin wants to fight with everything right now. Alright, we got something happening here now, bud. I think we do. By Jove, I think we do. Okay. So, Jelly Egg Baby is today's suggestion. So I got this book that has this image of this kid crying. This will be our... So I've set things up in a kind of neat way right now, where I can have things, because my desk is the size it is, I can have source imagery kicking around me. It's kind of fun. It's kind of fun. So I've got the book with the little kid crying over here. Here, I'll show you. I'm a kid crying. Look at me. I'm a crier. So there's that. So I'm going to just start our page today, and I'll put the zoom in. Or I do have the zoom in on. Okay, so that's good. I've got this piece of paper beside me here to test out values, and So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to start working out from this idea of jelly egg baby and see where it takes us. But I thought it might be fun to do this little crying kid. So, which is it's a terrible thing to say. I thought it'd be fun to do a child crying. I'm a monster. And so I'm coming in with this ink lay down here, this ink value, and I'm just drawing a composition in with the brush today. I'm not being overly precious about it. We're just having some fun. And so you can get some interesting results if you let go of the the preciousness that we have sometimes when we approach a piece. Oh, I want everything to be, I'm trying to pull the amount of moisture off here. We got it. You can have some real fun if you just let go of the preciousness of it and just start putting down marks and maybe lightly applied at first, and then you can build those up. But that's what we're going to do today. So I realize it's very light right now, and that's okay, because we're going to darken it up as we go along. Jelly Egg Baby. I think it was a song by Creedence Clearwater Revival. Did you get that joke, Corbin? That's Pagan Baby. That's what song they did. Pig. Yeah. He doesn't know music. So here we go. We're putting our little guy in. He's upset. We're just getting all this compositional elements around him placed in as we go. But we're letting go of this kind of preciousness about all the lines have to be perfect, and all of the ways that we are adding details in here. These are going to be the final details, and nope, not worried. We're just putting down masses, and we'll bring it up. But I just think it's funny, if the suggestion is Jelly Egg Baby, why not have some fun using this book of all these pictures of people and just start there, and just have, do you know what a jelly egg, have you ever heard the expression jelly egg baby? Maybe like a crying child? No, not a crying child, that's terrible. And then we can go through and construct this story based on, these random portraits of people and putting those together. Could it mean this? I guess. But I don't think so. So it's fun. It takes a random idea, a random suggestion, and makes us have to do something with it. I like stuff like that. Oh, there you go. Now you're over there playing. You're good. You're good, pal. You're good there, bud. So, okay, so now I'm coming in with a different value. I've got this red here, and I think I got the light as much as I can get the light. It's very soft. I realize that. The image is very soft right now as I'm applying it, so it's not just you. But we're going to build it up. But as I come in with this second color and pull in a few more details, hopefully it'll start to become more clear. A lot of times I find that we can rush through a piece that we're working on, and by doing so, yeah, you get it done and it has a sense of immediacy, but if that's your working modus, then that's great. But what happens if you slow down for a few minutes and give yourself a chance to develop some of the images that are in the composition? you know, what can it reveal to you then, right? So I'm gonna put, have I got, is this active? Challenge of some of my inks is that they may well have dried out. And I'm so cheeky, I'll just make new ones on the fly. So my green's dry, guess what? New green. Okay, so I've got this green value here now. I'll be putting some lines in here with this. So sometimes, you know, you get used to working, oh, I'm just going to stick with traditional drawing media for a while. That's great, it works, but, you know, if you have this interesting capability for expressing in different ways and means, don't lose those. Allow yourself to explore those every now and then. More in our blue over here. We'll bring that back into that line. Yeah, there we go. See, there's some fun lines and shapes that are in here right now that I'm really enjoying. That are coming through because of the way that the materials are going down. And so, you know, it's just about building it up. I'm going to bring it up a little closer so we can see some of the things that might start happening now. When things happen in life, oftentimes they can be really great impetus for changing course. And in this case, you know, I'm trying to just jump back into using a couple of different mediums that I've sort of strayed away from and get those back into the mix again. But okay, so here's our first little person, and let's get their outfit together down here. Get some fingers in there, and do the other hand as well. So I'm just thinking about the shapes of the hand as I'm putting these marks in. Yeah, I made a little bit of a boo-boo. That's all right, we'll fix it. Again, not too overly concerned about stuff right now on that front. This is just all of our base colors. So here's our little person, and that's a good feeling, that start. So I'm going to put together, see what I got here. I've got how are you? You gonna work with me? Yeah, we're gonna work with you, Chris. Okay, great. Alright, so I'm gonna put in some little value hits in the background for just environment, you know. And so I've got this gold mixed in with this underlying flesh value here that we've used, and so I'm putting a little bit of that in throughout here in these buildings that are going to be in behind. And we'll develop those a little more in a minute, but it's kind of a nice way of pushing back the background, the composition. We've got these darker colors in the foreground, or lighter colors in our background, separating the planes between the two. And yeah. Hey, Chris, welcome aboard. Corbin says hi as well. So here's some more color coming into here. I'll hold it up again in just a sec. doing? It's just a mess. He's just making a mess. Corbin is using this opportunity to explore in the studio here and to get into things. What are you doing? Yeah, well, don't do that. Okay, so we've got some breakdowns here for our first image of this little person. So you can see how a little more interesting differences that are coming in here in the line work and the color work. Have I got yeah, I got a little orange pencil here. Give me a second. And we'll use this in here. Is this dry enough? So I'm gonna see if I can get some soft little pokes of color. That's not going to work. This pencil stinks. Right back. All right, Kirk. We got some here. We got some other ones here. We're going to switch that tray for this tray. It's a tray switch. Wink. So I've got another pencil here, and let's see what this does for us. So I just want to put a little bit more shape and some more interesting colors in this kid's face. So the suggestion today is Jelly Egg Baby, and yeah, we're going to see what we can figure out with that. Mahogany. This is mahogany. So with the new setup for the desk, it really helps me to be able to just access things and have things available for me. And for those that, let me pull the camera out of the road there. And so here, where the desk is here, I've got things set up. I've got a paper towel for drying off, for swiping off excess, or drying off a brush. I've got sharpeners, inks in here. I've got space for a tray to be mounted, and I've just switched out the regular tray that I have for one that's got pencil crayons, and it lets me put this container of different inks, and it just sits inside this tray quite nicely. And then I've got the work area on the side over here. I've got a source image that's mounted on a clip, and then I've got all kinds of stencil sets, like with compasses and so on and so forth on there. So it's effective in that it's letting me having all these things organized around me, and so I appreciate that. And let's lean into that. Let's utilize that. So I've got a green pencil crayon in hand. I'm going to put the zoom back up so you can see a little more clearly what I'm doing. Now I'm going to start to define. I'm going to start to cut into some of these shapes a little bit more. Start to pull those out as we're drawing our little jelly egg baby. Well, this isn't the jelly egg baby. It's just a little boy upset. And someone's going to say, "What do you mean, like this kid?" And somebody else is going to say, "No." So Chris says the drawing looks good. Thanks, Chris. So I'm using this green to put some lines and details in here. This is a funny pencil. It's got two sides, an orange side and a green side. This is one of the things that when you get kids and grandkids in the house and you start buying fun, silly things like this, and they're just kicking around in the space. It's kind of fun. So I'm not drawing everything line for line in the composition. I'm just picking some emphasis lines and putting those in to help more clearly define where where some of our details are going to go. Because a lot of this stuff you start to gather when you're applying the base colors, like the inks, right? And you start to gather some of these details that way. So I got that. I flipped it over for the orange, and I'm just going to pick out some of these little details, his little fingers, and stuff like that. Kids, they got this soft, round little hands and all kinds of crinkly lines and things like that. So it's sort of fun to draw, So here's our little person's hands in there now, and I come in and start to pick out some of these little details in the face. And we'll come back and do some more with that soon, but it's a strange thing. Hey, let's draw a kid crying today. But that's what we're doing. Oh, my orange pencil just broke. That's all right. We got this one over here. It's got yellow at the other end. Anyways. I got all kinds of pencil crayons in this tray. These are just the ones that were on top. Probably when the grandkids were over or something. Okay, so we're going to put some little lines in here in the face, and I'll pull up again on the camera. So there we go. We got some stuff coming in here. It's fun when you are able to utilize different media together, and there's a lot of interesting things that you can do with that. It's just space can be a problem with accommodating that, or comfort, I guess, could be a problem with accommodating that. I don't think I'm very good at this one, and you just sort of talk yourself out of it, as opposed to the learning through chaos of just make a mess with that one and see what comes out of it for you. Nope, I don't like messes. Forget it. You're not talking me into it. Get out of here. Well, all right. But it's these different opportunities that we might discover by just playing with things and seeing what comes out of it. So, what do we got? Oh, that's dark brown. Hey, look at that. There's flesh tone on the other side. What? Caucasian flesh tone. So I'm just going to put some little marks in here, and I'll pull the camera up, or I'll pull the picture up to the camera again. Is that? Just give me one sec. We'll be bringing us in here. Okay, so we're starting to pull in those details now. We're starting to get in some of that interesting bits of information. So I've got, like I said, I've got this easy access to this compass over here. There are stencil sets. So I'm just going to put some lines up in the background. We're going to start adding in a few of these elements back here, just to add something to the image. Nothing too dramatic, just a few marks. The point isn't to have all this focus on the background. The point is to we want you looking at what's going on in the foreground. We don't want you worried about the background, but at the same time, there's benefit to us to have the background make some kind of sense for you. I haven't been doing any brushwork in a while, and it's a nice feeling when you're able to get back into an approach that you step away from for a moment. It's just, you gotta allow yourself the availability to do that. Sorry I can't stay. Time to go to classes. Hey, thanks for stopping in, Chris. Good to see you. Have fun with the kids. So this is just throwing in some of these lines to give some kind of structure to the background. And the reason that I'm doing that is that as I come down lower in the image is that I'm going to use the same approach to help to define the contours of the young man in the foreground, utilizing the colors and the shapes in the background. Like in this arm over here. It's a fun little fold in that corner. Here, I'll hold this up. But I want this light on the side of the arm. I don't want to lose that, so I'm only using one brush so far, and that's this liner, number 1, Montmartre. And yeah, does the trick, Billy Bob. I'm also staying away right now from black, and the reason for that is that this is a mix between an orange and a blue that's given me this kind of charcoaly value that I can put in here in place of using just an opaque black, and it gets the point across, gets some of these little dark punches. Now I've got that song by CCR in my head. Good heavens, Corbin, what have you done to me? I ain't done nothing. It's a double negative. Not too much blue in that one. That's all right. Leave it. Leave it. Embrace the opportunity. So, the paper can only take so much abuse as well. So you got to be a little sensible with the ink applications that I'm putting down here. But just because it's not a watercolor paper or an ink paper that I'm using here. So I'm just gonna, no, you don't even exist. There you go. Okay. So I'm just gonna put some tone in the foreground now. See what I got here. Oh yeah, that'll do. That'll do there. And I'm gonna cut in around this young person. And so this is kind of there's not really a rigid frame around this image, but we got our young person in here, and so let's give him some pants, some pantalones. So this is just a direct application of blue with a little bit of that orange mix in there as well, just to put some pant shape on this little guy. Okay, so now I need to give areas of that a chance to dry. So let me think about where I didn't make marks. Green and blue. These are great pencils. They're so silly. Okay, so I'm going to come in here now with this dark green, and I'm going to poke some more colors in here, just to more clearly define our little guy. We're building it up as we go along, right? So I'm coming in with darker and darker values as I go. So this is our first panel for today's page, called Jelly Egg Baby. So it's a fun suggestion. So I'm just picking and choosing those little accent points, those little accent lines here and there. Give some movement and some shape, some form to his little coat. And, you know, we're going to go back into that face again in a second. So I'm using the opposite, like if I've got an orange or a red base color that I've been defining, you know, the hands over here with, coming in there and poking inside that with the green complementary value of that. Gives an extra sense of depth, just because the complementaries work against each other and sort of mute each other down. So, okay, so here is our little person again. Now, the face is nice and dry, so let's come in and pick and choose some details. I'm sorry, I'll hold it up again, a little closer to the camera. So here's how it's coming together so far. Okay? Now, I'm going to use... Oh, there's another brown. This one's like a plum. Oh, I'm sorry. It's a plum, so that'll be like a deep purple. I've never been a fan of that band. So I'll move that. We won't use that right now. So I'm going to put in, oh, there it is, a little bit of blue. And we're going to use this blue in conjunction with the brown. Instead of using a black, I'm going to sort of do a little bit of a charcoal by mixing these two values together and seeing what that gives us. So bear with me, folks, yokes. I just find it more interesting than just using the black. I like it a little bit more. Okay, so let's, hold on, I don't have to lean. Wrong one. So I'm gonna put some deeper values in here, bigger contrast than the marks around his little yapper. We're gonna make our little guy cry now a little more clearly. Just how it is. I didn't mean to make him cry. It's just he's crying. I'll hold that up again. So we're trying to get that emotion in that face. And so in order to really do that, we've got to give darker lines around the eyes. Darker values anyway, sorry. This is somebody who's dropped his ice cream. I'm telling you right now. That's the story behind that. So hopefully he's looking up like he's crying. He's looking a little bit upset. So I'm going to come in with these reds. Now there's a dark, sort of crimson red and an engine red. So I'm going to come in with that crimson red first. And apply that. Bring some color to these cheeks. Terrible, terrible. My objective is to make a kid look like he's crying. Just terrible. Here we go. Let's see. Yeah, we're getting there. So you don't want too much, eh? You got too much red and it just overpowers everything. I got this Caucasian flesh tone. I've got this really cool box of all kinds of different flesh tones, but we're just going to use the tools we got at hand. And add some further value to his. I'll put him there. And I think that should round it out. I'll hold that up. And then as soon as I put some dark value around him, you know, in his little hoodie here, it should make the face pop because of that contrast. Let's see where we're at. Okay, so there's our upset little guy. And let's start putting in his little hoodie here. Yeah, I think it's starting to work. So I'm using inks right now and pencil crayons is what we're working with today. Ink and pencil crayon. Okay, so let's have a little more fun in our application here. Let's start really going for some of these little noodles and pokes in the clothes here. And in that way, we'll start to more readily define the folds and shapes and things. Nice deep shadows in the clothing. Thanks to anybody that's stopped in today, whether you're engaged. No, the chat's pretty quiet. That's okay. I hope that some of the ways that I'm approaching this is helping, and so that you can see some of the things that, you know, the ways that I go and blunder about and make some pictures and say, I'm going to do that better, and utilize those in your creative expression. These different tools, by that I mean, or approaches, and say, okay, well, I'm going to take what I've learned from you here, muchacho, and put that in my toolbox. So here's our little guy. Am I still on camera? Yep, we're still there. Okay. So I've done a lot of portrait work over the years, and one of the things about portraits is that you just sort of got to go for it and allow yourself to just throw some marks down. On the surface, and you know, you can, depending on what materials that you're using, you can course correct things, you can edit things as you go along. It's just a case of how do I say this? It's sort of like, it's just a case of, you know, trusting in yourself too. To go by your tuition at some points and go by your instinct and say, I want to apply these colors for that. If you're looking at a source thing, don't feel like you're locked down by it. Don't feel like you have to stick to everything that you're seeing in your source image. Take allowance from that to, you know, to apply those lines and to apply those colors and the way that you would like to do so. Shift it up a little bit. Okay, so I'm putting some of that blue in here. I'm going to come in with this dark brown. And so when I go over that blue area, the dark brown gets this kind of nice charcoaly value. The blue and the brown both still somehow kind of peek through, but I like that charcoal instead of a black. I like to use this approach instead. Now there's times where, you know, just hit it with the black is, there's advantages to that. But I enjoy using these two values together and seeing what that gives me. And it works just the same. It's just it's not necessarily as deep as the solid black would be. And Susanna says, hi Susanna, how are you? Susanna, today's suggestion is jelly egg baby. Okay, so just that little bit of darker framing around the face, I think might work, as opposed to going over all of this mask area, going over all of the lightly applied blue. I think just really emphasizing that frame around the face, it might be more beneficial to us. So, okay, let's go back into that background area again, and I think everything's dried out enough here. Are you? No, you're not necessarily deep enough. Let's see if I can find, let's try that blue. We'll put that blue in certain spots and see how he helps out. So, because it's a scene in New York, I'm going to try to imply some of the buildings and shapes like that in the background using linear elements. And optimally, I'm going to use a gray. Optimally, your brain is going to fill in the differences, and your brain is going to say, hey, I'm pretty sure that those are high rises in behind, because you've seen a high rise before. And so you'll have an idea of, you know, context, right? Susanna says, cute draw. Oh, thanks. So we've got, let's throw in some more. I'm going to use this gray as a negative, and I'm going to cut oops, I'm so sorry. I'm going to cut this building, and I'll zoom in a little bit for this, I think. Just a little bit more. There we go. Bear with me, folks. Okay, so we're a little closer now to our image. That's a lot better, actually. Sorry about that. Whoops, you're the wrong color. Who cares? And so I'm going to cut a building shape out of this background value by using this gray as a negative. So now you get an idea that here's a tall building in our background. And rather than drawing said tall building, we've drawn the space around it. And, you know, we're implying that it's there. And again, this doesn't have to be really detailed and everything. We're just trying to get some shapes and some marks down in here. And I'm going to come in a second with a white, and I'm going to pull stuff back out again. So when I was, really into collecting a lot of different things in comics and sequential art in general, I was greatly influenced by a lot of the artists that were featured in Vanguard books. So, the McKeon, Sankovic, those kinds of guys. But I really loved guys like the Hampton brothers, Scott and Bo Hampton, or George Pratt, or Kent Williams. A lot of these really interesting creative voices that would do these absolutely gorgeous painted works. And then you've got like your Michael Kaluta, your P. Craig Russell, a lot of these artists that are clearly coming in from a fine art background. They had a big impact on me anyhow. In my creative journey, and trying to figure out how do I want to interpret story? How do I want to present stories? And the fact that I'm watching these guys painting things and really elegant work. John J. Muth, another one. I've shown before John J. Muth's adaptation of M, the Fritz Lang film, or his Dracula. I've shown that. But he did a book called Moonshadow that I read in the 1980s. And that thing had some effect on me. It's absolutely gorgeous. And entirely done, I think it's watercolor and ink and all these applications that, you wouldn't necessarily consider that, hey, I'm reading a comic. It's just the whole thing's done, kind of like his fine art background. His work in general is just absolutely gorgeous. He did a section of the Sandman comics, if people are familiar with those. Neil Gaiman writing all those, Dave McKeon's covers. So he did a section of that towards the end of it all, and he used the Japanese brush technique of just really elegant ink work, and it's just such a incredible contribution to storytelling, to be able to see these painters. I can't remember which Hampton it was, and I apologize for that, but they did a comic called The Upturned Stone, and it's a horror story set during Halloween, and it truly gave me the willies because of that painterly approach where you had some somewhat realistic graphics on the characters and the pumpkins and things, and just wonderful. John Van Fleet, another guy, a lot of ink work with John Van Fleet. Absolutely no fear of using black in compositions. Just absolutely no fear. Just these hard cut lines and things in his work, and man, I tell you. So, people are interested, I can write all these names down. But they're all definitely people to check out if you're interested specifically in a painterly approach to storytelling with through sequential media. Okay, so here we are. We got this coming together. I'll pop the camera back down a little bit just so that the larger composition starts to come together for folks. But so there's different colors that I'm using, and this is enough representation in my mind of the buildings in the background. And I'm going to come in a second with some white ink and play around with that. But I'm just going to put a couple of specific little geometric shapes and stuff together here to sort of imply larger objects and larger volumes and a little more depth to the environment, and see what that gives us. I got this nice little gray here too. So I mean, that's the thing about comics in general, is that people in North America, your first assumption really is superheroes, as opposed to, and there's nothing wrong with loving superheroes, but there's so much more, you know. And even with the superhero approaches, Dave McKeon did, with Grant Morrison writing, did a book called Arkham Asylum, and it's a Batman story, but the entire thing is just, let me see if what I can show you. I got it up here. I think it's put away. So McKeon. Okay, so here's some different artsy approaches to some comics. Okay, so here's McKeon doing Mr. Punch, and Mr. Punch it's a mixed media approach to art that he takes, where he has photographs and digital overlays and things like that, or he incorporates photography into his work, and he rips work up and then stitches it back together. He has photographs embedded in this drawing of the Punch doll, and so the entirety of this book, you know, has this very different visual aesthetic of graphic elements that are put together, and there's a lot to be said for that, and the liberation that can give you. Now, mind you, it can overwhelm as well, but the liberation of being able to take photographs of made puppets, you know, fabricated puppets, and then he's taking photographs of those and incorporating them with paintings and drawings for the narrative. And then, of course, here's one of these little digital overlay elements, and that white lining that goes through the image, that's not the camera and the paper, that's in the composition. So all of these different applications make up this story. So, I mean, it's a completely different way to approach telling a comic book story. And so this is Gaiman's, one of his Sandman books, but the list of people, this is a book he put out called Endless Nights. And the creators on this, you've got Glenn Fabry, Milo Manara, Miguel Langso, I apologize, Prado, Frank Quietly, P. Craig Russell, Bill Sienkiewicz, and Baron Story. And so I'm going to find the bits I can show you. So here is Frank Quietly's watercolor work, and I'll zoom in. Frank Quietly doing watercolor, or maybe it's ink wash, I'm not sure, but this painterly approach, this beautifully illustrated subtle line work, and talking about destiny, one of the endless. Dream, delirium, desire, despair, destiny, death, destruction. That's the 7. And but look at this work, and it's just very compelling. This is one style of art in this book. Now Prado, or Manara, I think this is Manara. Is it? Who is this? This is either Prado or Manara. I think it might be Manara. But here's a very more traditional comic style, but with a very European artist. And, you know, no, I think this is Fabry. This is Glenn Fabry. because, okay, so here's Sankovic. It's a vastly different creative approach to the story. You can see the digital application within the image, as well as the ink brushwork here, the ink work he's got through here, and the ways of drawing and telling story in this really kind of a organic, highly intuitive way of expressing. Here's somebody drawing home, a child drawing home. Just absolutely wonderful work. And look at that. Look at all that business, for heaven's sake. And then right across, same artist, same page. Just a lot of black and white line work with some painted fish applied in there. So this book also has Baron's story. Now, Baron's story I've talked about a fair amount. And he's about putting marks down on a surface and then scratching them off again and seeing what is revealed underneath that. And so you get these incredibly layered and textured pieces with these underlying colors coming up and through. But just this is called 16 Images of Despair, this story. And just look at that. Oh my gosh. So what else have we got in here? Not to discredit anybody, but there's so many to see. Okay, so this I believe is Manara. Oh no, this is Prado. So look at this. It's all washes. It's all brushwork here, with some simple line work to emphasize points, but it's largely just color. Just absolutely lovely, and it features all these different characters. Like this is the character of Death, and the red-haired guy that you've seen throughout pages is Destruction, the oldest. Dream is the one with the black gothy hair, and Despair is I haven't shown much of Despair because she's largely exposed, so she doesn't wear clothes. But it's okay. So here's a page I can show. This is Milo Manara, and beautiful European approach and style of drawing with this lovely, elegant, very subtle, very wet application of color. Look at that splotchiness there. But a European traditional storytelling style. Here's P. Craig Russell. Look at the high contrast elements of the sharp black lines, but this really fantastic sense of shape. I've always loved Russell's illustrations of angels. Let's see if we've got one in here that I can show. Well, here, take a look at this. Look at his elephant. Look at that wonderful creative work. Look at that. Isn't that something? So yeah, so there's here's all these different creators that are throughout this book, and just amazing the different styles of application that we can put to telling stories sequentially. But those are the type of creators that I'm referring to. All right, let me get this camera working for us back in. Okay, so here's our little guy crying with the city scene behind him. I've got these deep browns. I'm just going to come in and add, oops, I'm so sorry. I'm going to add this blue over top of this ochre brown, and it makes this nice charcoal value rather than using, like I've said, a black line. I like the depth that you get from using the charcoal with the brown and the blue, and the fact that both of those colors peek through. Try it on paper. So I'm just put in some last little bits, detail, and then on we move to the next panel. What time we're at? We're at an hour. So here's our first panel, and for those that weren't here at the start, I will show you. That's that plum color. I don't want you. Nobody likes plums. So this is this little brown tone that I'm putting in here now into the fingers. And I'm going to come in with that mahogany, and put some little pokes of color in there. And sort out his little hands that way. And, you know, I'm sure it's probably overkill and way too much focus on these little colors, but you know, that's part of the process, is to have fun and explore it in whatever ways. So there's our first little guy. So this is our first panel of Jelly Egg Baby, suggested by Devin Rex for Art, our friend Yolanda. And I switched from blue to green. Isn't that fun, these pencils? And some people look at that and goes, are those artistic grade? I don't care. Alright, so I'm going to pull back out on this image, and I'll show you the image that I looked at to draw this, and then the different, you know. So this is the book that I showed at the start. This is this little boy carrying on, and our first panel for, I keep having to look it up, Jelly Egg Baby, because I want to call it whatever. And so there's our first little panel. And so the idea textually in this story is to say, do you know what a jelly egg baby is? I mean, here's another great little image. And these are pictures by, I looked it up, Brandon Stanton. So here's another great little image of a little guy in a teddy bear, you know, or I think I'll do this panel here now. This couple that are chatting on a park bench, and look at this generous touch on the shoulder and the depiction of character through that. So let's get our brush back out again, and I'm going to do that in this shape here on this panel. And so what I did is I've mixed up a couple of colors. I got a kind of a orange in here, and some browns, a little bit of a charcoal. But so what I started doing was just brushing in the main bits, you know. So I think I'll come at it in that way. Here we go. Get a little more orange in there, or a little more yellow in that. Yeah, well, maybe that's too much now. Hey, go, Chris. Why don't you just pick a color, huh? Okay, so I've got this elderly couple, and so we're just gonna lightly brush them in, and you know, we're just finding the composition as we go, and not being too concerned about all the specific lines and stuff, because sometimes those interesting little values that you put underneath the little marks, they can offer you some opportunities that you might not have considered otherwise. You know, you might not have thought about, oh, well, I'll leave some of these areas out. I'll zoom in a little bit so you can see some of what I'm trying to put her face in. Now what I'm seeing is, here's her mouth across here, okay, and here's some of her cheek. There's the underside of her nose. Here is under that chin, and I'm just leaving parts of her face without any value on them, just to give a little bit of light and shape that way, right? And then we're going to come through and put together some of her clothing in here. Get some shapes with that value down. So it's very light, and I appreciate that, and I'm sorry if it makes it really hard to see, but it'll darken up like it did with our first panel. You just got to start in whatever way that you find comfort in. I like to work from light to dark, you know. And so this value that I'm using here to build up this underlying composition that's going to have all the other different colors sort of placed over top. This little value that I'm using for that is fun. It's neutral enough that it's not going to be overwhelmingly standing forward in the image unless I leave it out for the flesh tone, so letting it poke through. I must say I like your drawings more and more. Oh, thanks, Susanna. It's just about trying different things, right? Exploring and allowing yourself to just embrace your interest. So these are inks that I'm using today that I'm brushing on with here. So we're going to put some folds in the arm here. And we'll come back in here with a few darker lines. Define her face a little bit more. It's very nice of you to say that, Susanna. So I'm just picking some of these little shadows and things in here, emphasizing those with the color. So because of the composition that the image, the source image that I picked to choose for this composition, the characters are too far apart to fit this frame. So this is where we get to have our own liberty and change it. Because a resource image shouldn't have to make you locked in and say, oh, I've got to reproduce it as such. The whole idea of a resource image is to help to empower you to engage your work in whatever way that you feel necessary. So I foreshortened her arm a little bit. Now we're just going to move right over into the next character in the panel. Got a fantastic. I love folds, I love folds in clothing. Honestly, I think it might be fair to say that a lot of my characters look frumpy. I just get carried away with folds and shapes and so I could see somebody saying, hey, your character's all frumpy. And they would not be wrong. So I'm finding the sit of his fingers here as his hand sits on his lap. So there we go. So there's that. Again, having fun exploring the folds in his clothing. So here's our two characters coming together. And so ideally once I get, so as I'm laying all this down, right, and putting this panel together, and eventually it'll balance out, so it'll be the same level of finish as this. But again, it's just you sort of start up from some point and then find your way along. It's a fun thing with a raised finger on the shoulder here, and I like that. It's those little things, the finger that crosses over into the next character, it's that little intimacy, So I'm not gonna, I'll put his head on in a minute. So let's come back in here and finish putting our female character in. There we go. Put some shadow under here into this fold. And then we'll drop this jacket down here. It's important that we appreciate and understand how our bodies work. And this is going to sound awkward, but buckle up. There are lines in my face that weren't in my face 20 years ago. There are folds and ways that my flesh, forms out over my body as the skin sags over years of life. And then there are certain aspects of my physicality that, much like the next person, that define, some of those physical attributes of masculine form as opposed to physical attributes of feminine form. And so a lot of times, people have concerns about defining body of characters, and I'd say lean into it and have fun and be real. If you're trying to do some measure of depiction of characters, and especially us as we get older, everybody doesn't look like a Barbie and Ken doll. And you can find some really interesting forms. You can find some really interesting shapes, with that. So lean into it, explore. Go to life drawing classes if you think it might be of help. Don't expect you're coming out of there with perfect drawings. The whole point of life drawing classes is to get a feeling for the form, the human form. Oftentimes you'll see people that go to life drawing classes and they're very clearly, desperate to walk out with Michelangelo drawings or something. And it's what you learn. It's your takeaway is what's important here. That far outweighs the prestigious polish of the compositions that you might put together, the images. You got to fold in this leg here, and then the hand, her hand follows right there. Very good gestures, and the source person's fingers and hands and their movements. I like these a lot. You can see the little turn of the fingers down at the bottom, or I can't really show with my crooked hands, but the way that the pinky finger rests up on the shoulders. Those things are fun. Fun, interesting little elements. Yesterday's page was very minimal. Very minimal page of just some marker line art. And then here today I'm working in ink wash here with a snoring cat beside me. Unbelievable, Corbin. So I want the weight in this thigh, and then I want to find the folds here in this leg. I'll move this up a little bit, right? Because here's the other leg tucked underneath as she's sitting cross-legged. So I want to find how that weight rests on the bench that they're sitting on. And then the same goes for this fold of fabric, and then the sit of this gentleman here, and how his body rests on the bench. Whee! You get a little, maybe a little too focused sometimes in painting characters. So I've got some more lines to put down for this character. What do we have for time? 3:30? We're doing okay. So here's the... So this is the fun thing about brushwork, is that you can find so much more when you're allowing yourself to stop thinking about the paintbrush as this large bulky tool and just think of your paintbrush as allowing you to put things down as shapes, you know. And sometimes it's not about putting down the shape, it's like putting the space in around it for her hair. Because she's got, you know, she's an older lady in this image. So she's got this nice gray-white hair. And yeah, let's lean into that. Allow it to be what it is. But then you can also get lots of fun line work out of a brush like the one I'm using here. And this is a 1. This brush is a 1. But it's got a nice long bristle on it, so you can get all kinds of these large applications of shape. Okay, so I'll put some of these elements in the background through here, because sometimes putting in some of the imagery that's in the background helps to define the contour of the character shape in the foreground. It doesn't always have to be this hard. In fact, I would advise against it being this hard line around whatever your characters are, your shapes, your images in the foreground. Utilize the space behind. And then we've got a nice curved tree in here. So just, you know, play, explore. So we got one more face to put in here, and then I think we'll wrap things up. There's an article that just popped up on my phone. Hey, we got you something for your birthday. I don't know why it thinks it's my birthday today. It's my son Joshua's birthday today. He's 26. Very proud of that guy. He's doing his own thing. Okay, so I'm finding those basic shapes and the person's expression. I'm picking out some of these darker shadows and values in here. You see that okay? I think so. It's got all kinds of nice lines and little peaks and valleys throughout his his face here. Some of it, though, I have to put in really loosely because I know it's going to be more readily defined. And the colors that I'm going to put down after. The marks, the tools that I'll use afterwards to depict some of these elements. Where are we at for time? Yeah, we're doing okay. Yeah. So I'm going to put in his ear up here, and there's his little raised collar neckline over there, and we're moving to the edge of the panel and the page now. And we're going to put a second hand into the image now. Put in some of that neckling there. Okay. So here is this guy. Build up some of these folds, and we'll be adding more to this as we go along. But we want to get the gist of it down here. There we go. There's a couple of older characters sitting on the bench. So the idea of today's page is Jelly Egg Baby. And people are going to be trying to give their take on what they think a Jelly Egg Baby is. And so I'll have the one character say, "You mean like this?" And then she'll say, "Oh dear, not like that. That's not what they are." So here's that image that I'm working on there. Some of the decisions that I made about shaking it up and closing the gap on the characters, and I haven't really gone through and more readily detailed some of the shapes in his sweater, but we will. But first I wanted to find that sit, that weight. I wanted to see if I could find that, and I wanted to see if I could find this bridging of these two characters, this movement together. And all right. So yeah, so I'm gonna finish this page tonight, and I'll have it posted for tomorrow. But thank you for the suggestion, Yolanda, and thank you anybody that's been hanging out, and Susanna and Chris and Maritza. Yeah, appreciate that. Everybody coming by. So yeah, so just allow yourself to step out of that comfort sometimes. Allow yourself to push back into some mediums that you don't maybe necessarily use on a regular basis as consistently, and so that you can, refresh yourself, reinvigorate yourself by jumping back into those different applications. In this case, ink, wash, and pencil crayon. I said, let's draw like crazy, and I end up spending the majority of the time with a brush. But really, this is line work with the brush. We're still drawing out the composition, so it still applies. Okay, that's it for me. And Corbin, anything you want to add? Nope, he's good. Okay, thanks very much. Thanks everybody for coming by. I will have this page posted to social media. So Patreon, I have a free level on Patreon. So if people are interested, you can sign up on my Patreon under free and get access to a whole bunch of things that are on there as well. So, feel free to do so. That's it for me for now. I will be back tomorrow. In the meantime, go draw something. Bye for now.